Now, a political satire series based on the life of the Prime Minister Julia Gillard and her partner Tim Matheson prepares on ABC One tonight.
Goes to air for the first time this evening. Let's take a quick look at the preview of the program.
Is that yours too?
Yeah, I'll grab that one. Just something for the missus.
Calling it. I think the worst Prime Minister we've ever had. And I've met all the stinkers, McEwen, McMahon, McFraser.
Joining us tonight, Prime Minister Julia Gillard.
10 days from now, date night. You heard it here first.
Rick Kalowski is the writer and executive producer of At Home with Julia, and he joins us now from Sydney. Rick, good morning. Where did this idea spring from?
Good morning. The idea sprang from a few places. Amanda Bishop and Phil Lloyd, who play Julia and Tim, and I had all worked together in various ways before. Amanda and I had done a song which sort of became a bit of a viral hit last year when the Prime Minister became the Prime Minister, from a Seven Network show called Double Take. And Phil and I had worked together on a sketch show, and Amanda and Phil had worked together on an ABC show called Review with Miles Barlow. And then the three of us, when Gillard became Prime Minister, put our heads together because Amanda did this quite well-known Gillard impersonation and talked about how we could do something more substantial with it, and that's sort of where this idea came from. But fundamentally the idea was to do something which was a political satire but a little bit different, and the idea that we hit upon that would make it perhaps more palatable to viewers was to do it as a domestic sitcom rather than purely a political one. And that's sort of where the idea came from.
Yeah, I get the political satire thing, but you'd be aware of the criticism. In fact, lots of our viewers this morning are expressing similar concerns about, from their point of view, all this being disrespectful. We have people writing in saying you'd never dare do this, for instance, with a male first-term Prime Minister. How do you address those criticisms?
Well, look, the first answer to give is that I think people will only need to see the show to know that, in fact, the tone of the show is not disrespectful. And to the extent that it's a political satire, which it very much is, it's an equal opportunity offender. I mean, it obviously has a go at Labor policy, but it also has a go, you know, Bob Catter cops it in the show, the other independents cop it, Tony Jones from your own network cops it, Alan Jones, lots of people are the sort of targets of our satire, so it is an equal opportunity offender. It's absolutely not true that we wouldn't do this about a male Prime Minister. We're doing it about Prime Minister Gillard because we think she's an interesting character and a fun character. It's sort of an interesting personality and a fun personality. And frankly, I wouldn't want to do one about Tony Abbott because, to be honest, putting aside one's personal political views, I don't think he's interesting enough. And I think the other thing to say is, you know, if you look back at our history, I mean, I don't think we're treating this Prime Minister with any more disrespect or respect than any other Prime Minister gets treated. I mean, satirists have been merciless about Kevin Rudd. I mean, people referred to Prime Minister John Howard as Little Johnny, and I worked on a sketch show, a popular late-night sketch show, where we did him mercilessly every week. So we really aren't having a go at the present Prime Minister, I think, any more than previous Prime Ministers. OK, yeah,
you mentioned Bob Catter. We saw a clip there of somebody impersonating Kevin Rudd. In fact, there's a whole series, a whole cast of politicians and indeed journalists. I saw the ABC's very own Tony Jones represented there. You've got a fairly rich field to pick from here.
We do. I mean, we really, as I said a moment ago, we really cover the whole gamut of political figures in sort of present public life, you know, and all those people are the sort of targets of our, well, we hope, amusing satire. And not only the Prime Minister, you know. And I think the other thing, again, to emphasise, it really is, it's a fun show. It's got a really warm tone to it. It's not a mean-spirited show. We really want to try and sort of inject some fun back into political satire, which is the kind of stuff that we love. You know, some of the shows that me and Amanda and Phil loved were shows like The Gillies Report, which were very sharp satirically, but had a really fun, warm, inclusive tone. And that's sort of the tone we're trying to strike. I really think if people give the show a go, their concerns, I hope, will be substantially allayed just by even the first viewing of the first episode, to be honest.
And finally, Rick, you've got four episodes on the go. Did your heart skip a beat in recent days with all this speculation that your key character may not be in the lodge sometime soon?
I must confess the show becomes somewhat difficult if the present Prime Minister is no longer the Prime Minister, I have to admit. Yes, it did skip a beat, but I have a feeling that the present Prime Minister is not going anywhere quickly. I certainly hope not.
Rick Kalowski, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Pleasure, thank you.
And you can see At Home with Julia on ABC One at 9:30 tonight.